Hello and welcome to Mark / Old School's notebook. This is going to be hopefully a regular feature every race for this season. Just wanted to give a bit of a breakdown of the race after I've seen a couple of the videos and a bit more of the chat, and kind of break down where we are, if you like, after every race and where the constructors are and each driver. So without further ado, I'm going to go in a quite random order, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with Sauber, which is a new team. Obviously, Ibo was fighting the corner by himself largely last season, but he has since moved on to pastures new. So we've got Aaron and we've got Yugi in this team, which are both quite quick guys, but yeah, quite a disappointing session for Aaron, I feel. Aaron come last, didn't really cover himself in too much glory, I feel, and he'll look to bounce back. Whereas Yugi, really impressive debut from him, a solid 7th. I think a lot of the guys that have raced in a league at all, including me now, I'm now a veteran, I guess. 7th's a great result, and I think Yugi showed some good pace and did very well around Australia. So yeah, a nice partnership actually. I think they could do quite well. I look forward to seeing more from the Sauber team going forward. But strong race from Yugi, picked up on other people's mistakes. Aaron will bounce back. He's a very, very, very good guy, I think, from what we can see. He's also quite a nice chap as well. I think he looks to improve. So yeah, hopefully we see more of them. On to the next team, which is the Red Bull team. We didn't expect a Red Bull team, judging by the driver lineups, but we got Waluigi and Stein. Stein, I'm not sure what happened. I think he crashed out. Obviously he's come 15th. Disappointing race for him. But Waluigi, what a race. I mean, I've seen his video. He stayed so far out of trouble, kept his nose clean, and just come home in a really boring, by his own admission, but very, very solid 4th. And I think let's see him out of the wet, because obviously our race was wet. Let's not forget, for anyone that doesn't know. But I think outside of the wet he could be very, very quick, and yeah, he's living up to the reputation I think we gave him in the preview. But he's a very, very quick guy, but he had a very flawless race, so kudos to him. So not a bad start overall for Red Bull. On to Renault. So we got Ibo, who finished up the race in 14th. I can't tell you much about Ibo's race, if I'm honest. I think it would have been, his fastest lap was quicker than that of Emperor's, which is a really, really good spot for him, because I feel he has been behind Emperor's pace through last season when Emperor's been racing. So good little positive to take from that for Ibo. Hopefully he can, kick on, because I know he wants to this season. I believe he's teaming with Pomoy. Pomoy didn't turn up this week. He did say that he wasn't turning up, so look forward to seeing him race next week. 13th for Tiggerby in the McLaren. Another person who didn't have his teammate turn up. James didn't turn up this week. Tiggerby in the chat, I think he had a crash, not a fatal crash, and decided to quit, because in his own words, he was bored. He doesn't like the rain. So we hope for dry weather in Bahrain, as you would. But yeah, I mean, he's really quick. We know that, and I think a lot of us expect that McLaren team to be quite rapid. So we will see. And again, a bit of a theme actually. Emperor in 12th, coming in a lap behind the eventual winner. His teammate Bellum wasn't here. Can't tell you much about his race, if I'm honest, but I think Bellum will be disappointed by that, just looking at where he came, frankly. Cristiano in 11th. Yeah, not quite, probably where he wants to be. Him and his teammate, obviously Robertson, they're looking to scale the heights. I would say they're looking for 5th in the constructors, and I think, you know, they're going to need Cristiano to turn those 11ths into 10ths and 9ths, but good to see him back, because I think he missed a couple of the races at the back end of last season. So the cult legend of D2 is here. Didn't cause any ructions from my understanding anyway, and good to see him partnering up. Robertson, yeah, I mean, let's go on to Robertson, because I think he deserves a lot of plaudits. He was outstandingly quicker than probably what anyone gave him credit for. His wet pace, I tell you what, if there's a lot of wet races this season, he's going to be rapid, because he was 3rd. He put Luigi in the shade, which is no slight on him at all, because he was so close to Army. I think one or two more mistakes, literally one mistake from either or both of the two in front of him means he wins that race. So annoyingly for me, as someone who's racing him, I have to say the Force India is looking in a really good spot, particularly Robertson. On to Mike in the Ferrari. A points finish, a singular point, over a lap behind. Starting off 7th on the grid. Unusual. Mike's actually normally quite dependable in the sense of where his pace is. It's where he normally comes. So I don't know what happened with Mike. Unusual, but very quick guy, and he will threaten in various different races in his Ferrari. On to his teammate Dave. Dave comes 6th. Dave had a great battle, I feel, for that midfield. There was a really strong fight between, I think, Mike, Dave, Macca, myself and Steve-O for that 5th place. And I don't know where Yugi come in, but we'll come on to him later, I suppose, in the sense of, I know we've already mentioned him, but it's a tough one where I don't really know where Dave was fitting in. I think Dave was keeping himself behind a lot of the trouble. I don't know if he'll be pleased with that result. I think he'll take it, but I think Dave has got a lot to offer this season, and he'll certainly achieve more than a 6th place. Qualified 8th. Decent fastest lap, 1:39.717, which pretty much beat everyone around him. But yeah, no, good effort. On to the Toro Rossos, who are obviously the champions this season. You've got Steve-O and Army. Steve-O with a 9th, qualified 9th, but as we all know, he started first, which was an odd one, because he jumped the lights somewhat, shall we say. There's some controversy. There's been mentions in the chat he purposely did it. Now, I think he'd be mad to, after looking at Australia's pit lane. I think he'd be mad to, but you just don't know. And I feel he was actually one of the quicker guys. I think he had one of the quickest laps. He had a 1:38.267 as his quickest lap, which you compare that to Waluigi, who had a 1:41.61. So he was nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker on his fastest lap than the guy in 4th. I think Steve-O, depending on who you ask, I think he cost himself that race, quite frankly. I believe that. He might believe different, but I think he he showed some incredible pace in the wet, and I think if he can really hold that down, because I feel like we're going to have more wet races than we probably had before, let's be honest. Hopefully he gets it together. On to second, his teammate, Army. Bit of controversy, wasn't there, of course, about the V5 penalty, which got cleared up. I hasten to add, I'm not trying to rock the boat or stir the pot, but obviously at first Army was a bit unsure. He thought, did the penalty get added on for V5? But he finished 12 seconds behind the leader. He'll be very, very pleased, I feel, with that result. Overall, I think it solidifies his place in the title hunt. And, 138.699 as best lap, so I feel he'll be very pleased with that. Moving on to Maka in the Mercedes. Maka had a difficult race. He come 8th. He got knocked into by Steve, obviously in an incident that cost them both a lot of points. And I feel he'll probably take that. I think there's been a lot of instances where there's been some tough races where Maka's not got points, so he might not be too chuffed with coming 8th in this field, but if he can build on it, this is one of his worst results. It's a great result, if that makes sense, because I feel like he's got a lot to add this season. We've also mentioned Yugi, we've mentioned Dave. On to Old School 3000, who come 5th in the Haas. Qualified 12th, 139.295, which was quite quick. I think it was the quickest lap, but I think that was an anomaly. I wasn't that quick generally. I was a minute behind our winner, V5. I had a massive mistake. Went on the grass and was lucky not to lose part of my wing. Had a great battle with Dave, had a great battle with Steve-O. Maka went off. I kind of just kept my nose clean. That 5th place was probably the best I could have hoped for. Dave finished 2 and a bit seconds behind me. It was quite a tough race against him. And I think, between me and 8th, there's no time at all. 7 seconds. Maka come 8th. So good race. Enjoyed it. Looking forward to Danny getting on board. Might make a little constructors run. Who knows? But yeah, no, good. Considering there's only one driver, not a bad weekend for the Haas team. Obviously mentioned Force India. Obviously mentioned Red Bull, obviously mentioned, but the only person we've got left to mention, I think, is V5, and I've left him out purposely because great win. He's looking quick, isn't he? He's looking worryingly quick. He's a nice guy. He's prone to a mistake as well, which I think we all like. D2, I think V5's big thing this season. He's literally 4 tenths quicker than anyone else over a single lap on the wet, and we know how quick he is in the dry, so I feel if he gets it together, it's got to be his this season. And I hate saying that because I know Army and Danny are looking to. I don't know Danny's pace, in all fairness, and talking down my teammate, but V5 looks so quick. I hope he can iron out those mistakes for a tilt in D1 next year, because I want him gone. The only thing I would say about this race, there was a bit of controversy at the beginning. Obviously, and it's through no fault of the organiser. By the way, Maka does a great job, and it's no fault of Maka's the way we set up. But we set up, and obviously we did the wet quali, hence some of the really slow times. I did a very, very wet setup. I changed my front wing to 2, but other than that, everything was really, really, really wet focused. And I can speak from experience when we had to restart, and obviously part firmware was off. I was really annoyed. maybe, and I know Macca said he's going to change that to championship settings for next race, so hopefully that gets done. So that's something to look into. I feel like that probably affected the race because I think the grid was probably quite mixed up. It was good, you know. Hopefully the new chaps who've joined the league do not see that as what it's like every week. It's not, I promise. It's not at all. Where are we as well from where we left off? We had a lot of predictions, didn't we? We had a lot of ideas about who would do well. I think V5 and Army are running to type, but Robertson's throwing in an interesting spanner there. Waluigi as well. Myself, you know, those three finishing above kind of standard, what you would call stalwarts of Dave, Macca, Stevo and Tiggerby is interesting. How many of those guys will finish above the four I've mentioned? We'll see, I suppose. You know, we've got 14 races left. It's a long old season, but there could be, you know, there could be and there couldn't be a changing of the guard. It could be a one race wonder, but I feel like that midfield is so competitive that I think we'll look forward to seeing it. But that's all. Just wanted to have a nice little wrap up with everyone. Kudos for the last race. I think it was a tough one, and look forward to seeing you all in the very, very, very odd conditions of Bahrain. No rain. Good luck. Cheers, guys.